Hello again. Today's tutorial has been made to show you how to convert mixed numbers to improper fractions or top-heavy fractions and vice versa. First of all, let's define a mixed number. A mixed number can be defined as a whole number with a fraction alongside it. Now if you look at the board in front of you, I've got a few examples over here. So on the top part we've got three examples of mixed numbers. We've got 3 and 2/5, 1 and 4/9, and 19 and 4/17. So we have a whole number in the first example, 3 and 2/5, and the fraction part of it is the 2/5. The second example, the whole number is the 1, the fraction part is the 4/9. The third example, 19 is the whole number and 4/17 is the fraction part of it. Now let's define an improper fraction. An improper fraction is one where the numerator is larger than the denominator. Again, I have three examples on the board here on the lower section. Improper fractions are also known as top-heavy fractions. In other words, the numerator is always bigger than the denominator. So again, we have three examples. We have 9/2, 15/8, and 22/7. Now some of you may recognize this particular fraction. This is actually pi. Its decimal equivalent is 3.14, and well, the numbers just go on forever after that. But as you can see, all three are top-heavy fractions. Now we're going to start by looking at some examples how to convert or change mixed numbers into improper fractions. So let's get rid of this board here. So let's have a look at the first example. We have a mixed number, 4 and 3/7. Now our objective is to convert that back into a top-heavy fraction. Now this is how you go about it. The first rule of mixed numbers and improper fractions is to always keep the same denominator. So if we look here, remember that's the whole number and that's the fraction. So if that's the fraction, the 7 is the denominator. So we're going to keep that. Now, in order to convert mixed numbers into fractions, what you do, you multiply the whole number by the denominator and then you add the numerator to it. So, what we're going to do, I'll show you exactly what I mean. So, we multiply the whole number by the denominator, 4 times 7 in this case. Now, if you notice, I've put brackets or parentheses around it because you mustn't just times it and add it straight away. Well, just watch what I'm doing. So our next step is we multiply. 4 times 7 is 28. Now you can add the 3 to it. It's all a process of something called BEDMAS. I'll talk to you about that on another tutorial. And remember, keep the same denominator. So all you have to do now is add the 28 to the 3, which will give you 31. Keep the same denominator, and there you have your answer. So 4 and 3/7 when converted to a top-heavy fraction or an improper fraction becomes 31/7. Right, let's move to the second example. So remember, golden rule, we're going to keep the same denominator. So the 7 is the whole number, the 2/3 is the fraction. So the only denominator there is the 3. So we're going to keep the 3. So remember, as we did with the first one, you multiply the whole number by the denominator, and we're going to put that in brackets just to keep it separate. So 7 times 3. After that, and only after that, do you add the 2. Okay, so we're going to take it to the next step. 7 times 3 is 21. Now we can add the 2 to that. Keep the same denominator. 21 plus 2 is 23. So there you have it. 7 and 2/3 when converted into an improper fraction becomes 23 1/3. Right, let's move to the final example. Once again, keep the same denominator. So remember, the 8's the denominator. And what do? Can you remember? Multiply the 2 by the 8, keep it in the brackets, keep it separate. Then after you've done that, you can add the 5 to it, which is the numerator. Right. 2 times 8 is 16. Now you can add the 5 to that. 16 plus 5 is 21. Whoops. So 2 and 5/8 becomes 21 over 8. Now we're going to move on, and now you're going to learn how to convert or change improper fractions into mixed numbers. So just give me a moment while I clean the board. Right, let's start off with a simple example. Now this is the most basic example you're going to come across. Okay, so we're going to have a top-heavy fraction. We're going to go 21 over 3. Now, you remember how I said always keep the same denominator. Okay, in this situation we don't even need to do that, because the 3 goes into the 21 7 times. It goes into it exactly, so you end up with a whole number. That is the exception to the rule. Right, okay, we'll get rid of that. Let's move on to some real examples. Let's start off with 10 over 3. Now it really is quite simple. All you need to do is to divide the 10 by the 3. So how many times does 3 go into 10? 3 goes into 10 3 times, with how many left over? 1. Now remember, the same rule applies, keep the same denominator. Alright, let's look at another example. We'll go for, let's have a look, 19 over 12. Same thing again, we're going to keep the same denominator. So how many times does 12 go into 19? Well, 12 goes into 19 once. Okay, keep your same denominator. How many do you have left over? Well, you have 7 left over. So 12 goes into 19 once, with 7 left over. That's 7/12. So 19/12 is actually 7/12, as 10/3 is 3 1/3. Let's have a look at some more examples. Now, be careful. This next example I'm going to give you, you're going to have to simplify the fraction when you get towards the end of it. So let's have a look. We've got 26 over 8. Okay, now remember, it's just a question of dividing 26 by 8. How many times does 8 go into 26? 3 8s are 24, so it goes 3. Keep the same denominator for the moment. Okay, so 8 goes into 26 3 times, with how many left over? 2. So 3 and 2 8s. But you can't just leave this fraction as it is. It has to be simplified. I've shown you how to do this on a previous tutorial. So what we're going to do, bring your 3 down, but we're going to work on this chap up here. Alright. So find the highest common factor. What goes into the 2 and what goes into the 8? The highest common factor is going to be 2. So we divide both by 2. 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 8 4 times. So that is your final answer. So 26 over 8 transpires to be 3 1/4. Let's do one more of those. Let's go for, what should we go? We'll do 58 over 24. So we're going to divide, excuse me, 58 divided by 24. Okay, so how many times does 24 go into 58? Well, it goes into 58 twice, 48. Okay, so how many are left over? 10. Remember, keep the same denominator. Right, but as you can see, we need to simplify this fraction over here. So bring the whole number down, but we're going to work on this one To simplify it, again, we need to find the highest common factor. Now, the highest common factor, once again, turns out to be 2. So, 2 goes into 10 5 times. 2 goes into 24 12 times. So, that is your final answer, 2 and 5/12. So, 58 over 24 turns out to be 2 and 5/12. Okay, now that's the end of this tutorial. I do hope it's been of some help to you. Bye bye for now.